Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Well, since he became Labour leader, Jeremy Corbyn has been accused of being soft on Osama bin Laden, an IRA sympathiser and now a communist informer. A former agent with the Czech secret police says he paid Mr Corbyn for information during the 1980s. Mr Corbyn has denied it, with his spokesman saying it sounds like a bad James Bond movie. Well, joining me now is Anthony Glees from the Centre for Security and Intelligence Studies at the University of Buckingham. Many thanks indeed for joining us this afternoon, Anthony. A spokesman for Jeremy Corbyn has said that the story has more plot holes than a bad James Bond movie. Is that your reading of this story?
Not at all. I think it's a very serious matter for Jeremy Corbyn and something about which he, rather than his spokesman, is going to have to speak. And it's serious not because the files from the Czech Secret Intelligence Service that the Sun obtained are forgeries. It's not that they show that Jeremy Corbyn was very anxious about having a relationship with a Czech intelligence officer. It shows that there was a course of conduct on Jeremy Corbyn's part to have at least 3 meetings with the Czech intelligence officer. So it wasn't, bumping into him at a cocktail party at the embassy or anything like that. 3 serious meetings with this person, and that they exchanged information about the Soviet world peace movement, of which Corbyn was an important part, and also the names of anti-communists with whom Corbyn was in contact. So the documents do not say that Corbyn was a spy in a traditional James Bond sense, getting money or favours or anything like that. They don't say that. What they do say is the Czech intelligence service thought he was their man. They thought he was a source at a time when the Czech intelligence service was using repression to try to maintain the hold of communism over Czechoslovakia, at a time when the British government under Margaret Thatcher was doing everything they could to undermine communism in Eastern Europe. Corbyn was batting for the other side.
How common or uncommon was it for agents of a country such as the Czech Republic to make contact with Britain's influence during the Cold War, during the 1980s? Well,
it wasn't uncommon. When in the 1970s the British government expelled over 100 KGB officers from the Soviet embassy in Kensington, the Czechs and indeed the Stasi, the East Germans, did the KGB's work for them. In any case, KGB, Czechs, 2 sides of the same coin. And yes, it was part of their job to find out who might possibly have information in which they would be interested in. And in Corbyn's case, the information was who might Jeremy Corbyn have been in touch with, Czech dissidents, anti-regime people who might have thought that a prominent Labour left-winger would be on their side. The names and addresses of these people, that's the sort of thing that they would want to get. But of course, most people don't have information. So you might find somebody goes up to somebody at a cocktail party and they start chatting, could they become an agent? This is in a completely different order of magnitude. Corbyn had a unique registration number and he had a code name. And there was a series of meetings. That's the problem.
Could the same have been said for other officials, other leaders of movements who are on the other side of the political divide?
Well, it's certainly true that people on the centre of British politics, the late Lord Roper, for example, was and acknowledged, accepted that that was what he'd been, an agent of influence for the East Germans. And there have been Conservative MPs too who'd been drawn in with a promise of money, sexual favours, holidays to Eastern European resorts and so forth. There are always those people, the communist intelligence services called useful idiots. But in Corbyn's case, you've got somebody who was on the very left of the Labour Party, right outside. Nobody, including Corbyn himself, ever thought he'd end up as leader of the Labour Party. And now that the president of Russia is the former most senior KGB officer in communist East Germany, and bearing in mind that the Czech secret files will be in the Kremlin as well, potentially this could be very embarrassing for Jeremy Corbyn. So what he needs to do, it's really very simple. When David Cameron was accused of taking drugs, I think it was, when he was a student, he said very simply, when I was young and stupid, I was young and stupid. And that was the end of the matter. Corbyn could say, when he was young and stupid, he was young and stupid. It would be difficult because he hasn't changed his core beliefs. That's the problem. But he does need to answer these allegations. That, as I say, there is no proof that Corbyn was a Russian agent or a Czech agent. There's no proof, but there is a possibility, and that's what he has to deny.
Anthony Glees, thanks for your time.
I've been